It's not where we want it to be. It's not doing all that we want it to do. But it's not in the free fall that it was in, and we have moved in the correct direction. At least we are going on a path that can lead us out of here. The conditions that caused that crisis are a buildup in household debt that you can see starting in the late 1990s and then becoming a skyrocket over the last decade. You cannot undo and unwind that debt position overnight. It's not going to happen in less than 1 year. So it's only been 1 year since President Obama has even been elected, not counting how long he has been in office. However, some things have been achieved. The news today, again, mortgage rate failures are declining. We now are able to modify 50,000 mortgages a week to support the housing market. Housing prices have begun to stabilize. Small business lending is now up 73%, and we are beginning to do our funding now for renewable energy and the green jobs, things that we hope to take place shortly. That Recovery Act that was put in place, that's the down payment. It's a crucial payment in terms of stopping the hemorrhaging and getting us going in the right direction. But while we are still losing jobs, it's probably difficult because you're looking at your communities and saying we're still losing jobs. Where are things? A large part of the initial stimulus money went to states. That money went out quickly and was very quickly absorbed into state budgets. You can talk to anyone from the governor of California on down who could explain to you that the seriousness of the budget problems that they faced would have been more than exacerbated had we not stepped in to give them money. Now, the original idea of the stimulus was that it would be in addition to what the states were going to do, but the states were finding themselves cutting back so much that what this did was at least hold states solvent. So, you know, it's kind of hard for me to do that, other than I think it is really important for you to talk to your local state legislators, those who sat on the budget committees, and to ask them what happened to the stimulus money. And many of them will tell you that several of the states zeroed out the state line item and simply took the stimulus money to fund ongoing programs. We found this in the Department of Labor when it came even to running their departments of labor. One of the things that was achieved during this stimulus is we instituted extended unemployment benefits much earlier into a recession than has ever occurred. We gave extra money to states to help them modernize their unemployment insurance systems. Louisiana being an exception. We all know that your governor got on television and told everybody that the state of Louisiana does not need to have more people getting unemployment benefits. That's not the fault of the Obama administration. We certainly have been encouraging states to please modernize your unemployment insurance system. Because of that modernization, broadening the number of people who would be eligible for unemployment insurance in many of your states, there are now people getting unemployment who would not have been eligible otherwise, particularly those who are low-income workers. The way that many states reacted to the 1980 downturn when the state unemployment systems went belly up was to balance those funds by making it harder for people to get access to unemployment insurance. One of those was the use of a formula that says who really is a worker. The unemployment system was originally designed to help people who are normally well attached to the labor market when there was a downturn. Well, states made those guidelines so stringent that you could be a low-wage worker in many states, have been totally committed to the labor market, and not been eligible for unemployment insurance. As we learned from New Orleans, there were a lot of people who were working, but because New Orleans had passed a city minimum wage law that the state then overturned, would not have qualified. We found this out when we had to do unemployment insurance in that emergency. Couldn't qualify because even though they had been working, their earnings record wasn't sufficient to get unemployment insurance. So thanks to the UI modernization, this recession, we are at a record high for the share of unemployed workers who are getting unemployment insurance. We're now at 40%, and the height of the worst part of the 1980s downturn we were running at about 38% of those who were unemployed actually getting unemployment insurance. So we've reached more workers individually with aid. Workers are now given access to support if they're getting unemployment insurance, to get help with their health benefits, so that rather than was the case before, that you got your unemployment check and you could try on your own to continue to pay for your health insurance. Workers are now getting assistance in that way. So the recovery has affected workers in this horrible downturn. It's very hard for you to see, because you have to look at previous recessions to see the aid that people are getting that they would not have been getting. And it's hard for you to see because, again, many states took money that we thought was going to be additional money for education and for other purposes, and have instead used that money to shore up their budget shortfalls. So I encourage you to talk to your state reps, so you understand how the money actually played out when it got to your state, because there is a sense, I believe, that people believe that this would be additional money instead. It was a huge stopgap. Now, we don't have the labor market where we want it. We don't like the fact that 190,000 jobs were lost in the last report. There are some encouraging signs, because if you look at this from a trend perspective and you look at it on a quarterly average basis, we clearly have gone down to the bottom and are on our way back out of that valley. The president is going to hold a job summit later this month. The administration is considering several different alternatives to think about as ways that we can do a better job to get the labor market where we want it. Lots of ideas are going to be on the table, and lots of them are going to be discussed, and eventually you will see some of those ideas take place. The other challenge that we face is the president inherited a record deficit. And everyone wants to say, oh, the Obama deficit is so horrible. When the president came into office, the federal deficit was already at $1.3 trillion. So the fact that we're running a $1 trillion deficit isn't something that was created simply by policies to address this downturn. But when you look at what stimulated the economy in this last quarter that finally got us into the positive area, you see that government expenditures was an important component in making sure that there was some demand. When you look at where consumer demand came from, you can see this related directly to stimulus package items, the new homeowners tax credit, the cash for clunkers tax credit. They played a clear role in helping the third quarter be a positive quarter for growth. So can we borrow our way out of poverty? If that were true, then poor people would be borrowing their way out of poverty. No, we can't. But in this economic climate, we can afford this deficit, and I would say we can't afford inaction. So people who say they don't like the stimulus plan because of the deficit, it's what would be their alternative. Many people want it to be only tax cuts, but that's also to increase the deficit. So that's just not the other alternative. And people have to give us a real answer, not simply that they don't like this package. The reality of the way that the government works is that it does take time to get the stimulus out. The Department of Labor worked as rapidly as it could to get the grants out, and in the next couple of weeks, we will finally be able to announce some of our grants around the Jobs Initiative, some of our grants around healthcare workers.